Hey everyone, John here from TestPrepInsight.com, and today I'm going to be doing a direct comparison of three of the biggest and most popular language learning apps out there: Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, and Babbel. There are dozens of language learning apps on the market today, maybe even over 100 at this point, honestly, but there's no doubt that these three are the most widely used. So today I'll be directly comparing and contrasting them side by side so you can pick the one that's best for you. And by the way, I should just mention up front here that since I'm just going to be focusing on the major highlights and lowlights in this video today, if you find you need some more detail at any point, we also have a full in-depth written comparison of these three apps over on our website. An easy way to get there is just to Google Test Prep Insight, Duolingo versus Rosetta Stone versus Babbel. All right, so here's how I'm going to do this video. I'm going to run through each of these three apps one at a time and give you a brief overview of how each one works, as well as my personal thoughts on them. And then I'll circle back for a quick verdict at the end on which one I would personally choose among these three. So with that in mind, I want to start with the most popular app on earth, Duolingo. Here's how their app works if you don't already know. The Duolingo program follows a learning path, basically a long path of stepping stones that you work your way through, with each stepping stone being made up of several lessons each. These lessons progressively build upon one another as you move down the learning path from beginner to advanced. And as for the substance of each lesson, they tend to focus on shorter form interactive drills such as fill in the blanks, matching pairs, completing sentences, some speaking practice, listening exercises, and a few more. And in terms of length, each lesson takes the most 5 minutes to complete, usually a lot less. I would say I did most lessons in just like 3 minutes flat. They go by really quickly like this because each one is just a set of 10 or 12 rapid fire drills. And because they go quickly, a lot of times you'll end up doing 2 or 3 Duolingo lessons in one go. And sometimes I would even do like 10 of them. But anyway, as for format, the Duolingo lessons have a more playful and lighter feel to them than Babbel's and Rosetta Stone's lessons, mostly because they focus on more game-like interactive drills with tons of funny little cartoon characters and haptic feedback. Honestly, to me, it feels like the program is meant to be more like a game or social app than a true language learning platform. And some of the things that feed into my opinion there is the fact that you can connect socially with friends, earn XP points and gems, keep your streak alive, compete in leagues against other users, and buy things from the Duolingo store with digital currency. To me, it feels more like a questing game than a language learning course. So to quickly summarize the pros and cons for Duolingo as I see them, the pros are that 1, Duolingo has a free version. That's one of the biggest highlights of this app by far, and it's the reason why they have such widespread popularity. 2, the app is legitimately fun, and I have to admit, it's kind of addicting. And then 3, the lessons are very short and engaging. You never get that feeling of dread like, oh, I've got to sit down and do another lesson. But with all that said, I have way more cons than pros for Duolingo. For one, I never actually seem to really learn anything with Duolingo. The vocabulary that they teach just doesn't really seem to stick. 2, the exercises leverage sentences that make absolutely no sense. A lot of them just teach you absolutely nonsense stuff like, the bear eats his bed. I'm serious on that one. 3, the speech recognition software is pretty poor. And then lastly, it just seems like the app tries to keep my eyeballs on the screen and maximize my attention, kind of like Instagram or TikTok. And that just kind of turns me off. So anyway, Duolingo is not my favorite, but there are a few pros there. Okay, so next, let's talk about Babbel. And again, let's start with a brief overview of how their program works. So Babbel is based on a pretty traditional language learning app format. You work your way through several hundred lessons, which progress from total newcomer to more advanced. And this is all in a very linear way. You'll start with the very first lesson in the newcomer level, which covers absolute basics like hello and goodbye. And then you'll gradually and systematically work your way up from there to more grammatically complex topics as you go. Now, as for the lessons themselves, each one is about 15 minutes long. Some are shorter and some are longer, but I'd say the average Babbel lesson takes roughly 15 minutes. That's obviously longer than your typical Duolingo lesson, but also about the same length as a Rosetta Stone lesson, as you'll see here in a minute. And it's shorter than lessons from other apps like Pimsleur and Rocket Languages. Now, as for the substance, each Babbel lesson is made up of a number of quick-hit interactive exercises that teach both vocabulary and grammar. That's a big differentiator between Duolingo and Rosetta Stone. Those other 2 apps do not weave grammar into lessons like Babbel does. In terms of the exercise types, there's listen and repeat exercises, digital flashcards, fill in the blanks, matching pairs, matching phrases to images, completing mock conversations, short instructional tips on grammar, and a few more. It's a much more comprehensive and diverse approach to instruction than other apps in terms of format, and I personally like the variety, especially the layered grammar instruction. Plus, outside of the main Babbel lessons, there's also daily review sessions. This is where you get spaced repetition on vocabulary that you've already learned in prior lessons to make sure that it's sticking. And you also get some cool extras like games and podcasts, which are fun. Now, in my opinion, in terms of substance, it's a more comprehensive app than Duolingo and Rosetta Stone because it provides better coverage of grammar and a greater variety of drills. But anyway, I want to sum this up here with my pros and cons for Babbel. The pros are 1, the Babbel lessons are a great length at 15 minutes long, not too long or short in my opinion. 2, the lessons are very engaging with a diverse mix of drills and exercises. 3, I like how Babbel includes grammar instruction with short tips and snippets. Those were very useful. And 4, the app is pretty affordable relative to other programs at just $10 to $15 per month. Then for the cons, 1, I would like to see more speaking exercises added to the program. It would be good to get more work on verbal output. 2, when you get into the really advanced realms of the app, like the last few lessons in the program, it tends to start focusing on professional and work-related vocabulary, which really didn't do anything for me. And 3, their speech tech is just okay. It's not the best or worst that I've seen. It's better than Duolingo's, but not quite as good as Rosetta's. But anyway, that's Babbel in a nutshell. Now, before we start talking about Rosetta Stone, because I just touched on price, I do just want to note that in terms of cost, just about all of these language learning apps are in the same general ballpark in terms of pricing. Duolingo has their free version, but their paid version called Super Duolingo costs $13 per month. Babbel is, like I already said, about $10 to $15 per month, and Rosetta Stone is right around the same, $10 to $15 a month. So they all use the monthly subscription model and all are within a couple bucks of each other. However, what I will say is that all these companies seem to run pretty frequent sales and special promotions, so make sure to check the description below for coupon codes. We track and aggregate the most current discounts for all these different language learning companies out there, and I'll keep that text down below the video screen updated with the best discounts and deals that I can find floating around out there, so make sure to give that a look and save yourself some money. You should not have to pay full price here. All right, so lastly, we've got Rosetta Stone, and let's start with the overview. So the Rosetta Stone program is made up of around 20 total learning units, and each one of these units covers a different thematic topic, such as greetings and introductions, sports, feelings, professions and hobbies, and other major concepts like that. Then within each of these 20 modules, there's a bunch of 10-minute lessons. I don't know the exact number, but there are dozens per module. Honestly, it's a pretty simple organizational setup. Now, in terms of what the actual Rosetta Stone lessons are like, they're based almost entirely on 2 things: imagery and immersion. This is the basis of the Rosetta Stone learning method. Nearly every single drill in the program is based on pictures. They want you immersed in the language that you're learning in an environment like you are actually in that country. So not only do you see a lot of visuals, but Rosetta Stone also provides almost no guidance in English. They just immerse you in your new language, and you kind of have to figure things out as you go. The idea is that you'll learn more quickly and retain more material by thinking critically and working through drills based on your intuition and repetition, rather than learning to translate in your head. And while that might sound a little challenging, it's really not too bad once you get into the groove of it, because you'll start with 1 or 2 word building blocks and then progress to longer, more grammatically complex sentences as you move along. It's a slow progression. But that's kind of it for Rosetta Stone. There are some bonus features around these primary picture-based lessons, like short stories and on-demand videos, but that's a good overview of how the Rosetta Stone program works. So now, to recap the pros and cons for Rosetta Stone, the pros are that 1, the lessons are very manageable in length, again, just 10 or maybe 15 minutes each. 2, the lessons are absolutely perfect for visual learners with all of their pictures. 3, though sometimes frustrating, the immersive nature does seem to work. 4, their speech recognition software is some of the best tech that I've seen and used. And 5, again, like Babbel, the app is fairly cheap at just $10 to $15 per month, and sometimes their lifetime plan can even be found for just $150 with a code or link, so make sure to check for that below. And then for the cons, 1, the lessons can become a little repetitive and tedious because they all are picture-based at the end of the day. 2, because of the immersive nature of the program, like I said earlier, it can be a little frustrating for newcomers because there is very little English, so you need to just stick with it and get through those first couple modules. And 3, I wish there was more audio exercises included here that allowed you to work on your speaking and listening. But that's it for Rosetta Stone, so let's get to my final thoughts. But actually, real quick before I hit you with that, I do just want to mention that since you're trying to learn a new language, right here at Test Prep Insight, we actually give away a free language learning subscription to someone every single month. It's super simple to enter and everyone's eligible. I'll put all the details down below in the description on how to get entered, but it's really easy and it only takes like 10 seconds, and you could win a totally free subscription to one of the companies that I've talked about here today. Okay, so some final thoughts here. Well, if it wasn't clear already, I don't care that much for Duolingo as a language learning app. While I understand the appeal of a gamified style of learning and the cool characters and feedback, to me, Duolingo is just sort of gimmicky and the lessons aren't super effective. So I think it then kind of comes down to style and preference between Babbel and Rosetta Stone. If you're a visual learner and don't mind a challenge and you want more of an immersive experience, then Rosetta Stone is going to be right up your alley. I like it for what it is. However, if you're looking for a more traditional language learning app designed for newcomers from the get-go, then I think Babbel's the way to go. With diverse and fast-moving lessons that only take about 15 minutes, smart and efficient grammar instruction, spaced review sessions for retaining new words, a clean interface and easy-to-follow structure, and some cool extras, Babbel is just a plain good app. And for me personally, after using all three programs, if you're on the fence, I would say go with Babbel. They're my first choice, and it's actually still the program that I use. But anyway, I hope this video has been helpful and you learned a little something about Babbel, Duolingo, and Rosetta Stone. If so, please return the favor by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and drop me a quick comment below. That would be really appreciated. And again, if you want to see that full detailed written comparison to these three apps that I mentioned early on in this video, just hop on over to our website. Again, that was testprepinsight.com, or you can always check out the other videos we have on our YouTube channel. We've got a bunch of great content out there. But as always, thanks for watching, best of luck, and I'll see you in the next one.